I started to feel invincible, like I could take on the world.
Kevin Smith was never one to walk away from a fight. At 18, he was 6'7", a coke addict, a dealer, and sitting in jail awaiting sentencing. It was then Kevin met two Christian volunteers who led him to a decision to follow Jesus Christ.
I wanted to know who God was. I wanted to know all about him.
But heading into a 4-year sentence in the state pen, Kevin feared his faith would make him look weak and vulnerable.
I thought, I can't let this happen. This isn't the place for it. Survival was number one. God was secondary. I was Kevin Smith. I wasn't going to be messed with.
Again, Kevin used his size to intimidate, control, and traffic drugs. But when he was released, he was ready for a new start without God.
God takes a back seat. Honestly, what I thought was that later. I'll do it later. I told myself, I'm gonna walk the straight and narrow. I don't want to come back to prison. I felt like I knew the steps to take to do that, to find a good woman, settle down, live a normal life.
He was working in a bar when he met Angie, a Christian who somehow saw a softer side of Kevin.
He was like this larger-than-life guy, and I was his sidekick.
She's always so happy and so positive. I mean, she was perfect in my eyes,
The two married and things were going well. They opened a towing company and had a baby girl. But 3 years into the marriage, the business was struggling, and they were in debt with a new home, cars, and hospital bills.
The debt world was crashing in on us, and I didn't like that feeling.
Desperate for a quick fix, Kevin decided to do what had always worked before, making and selling meth.
It was a horrible idea. We're talking about me, and I thought I was smarter than everybody else.
It was scary. It was like he was another person. There was just no reasoning. It was his way, and that was it.
Before long, he was also using and seeing another woman. Then one morning, just 2 weeks before Angie announced she was pregnant, Kevin walked out on her and their 1-year-old daughter and moved in with his girlfriend.
It felt like the heart was literally being ripped out of my chest.
Watching him make this new life with this other person, and it was horrible. It was horrific.
I was so stupid and selfish.
Then, in 2006, Kevin was arrested for dealing meth and sentenced to a minimum of 15 years. For protection, he joined the Aryan Brotherhood and rose quickly through the ranks to become chapter president.
I liked the power that came with it. I lived a comfortable life in prison. I had anything I wanted.
Anything except a clear conscience. By then, Angie had divorced him, and he knew it was his fault.
I basically drug her through hell. I felt horrible about that, and I wanted to make it right.
I kept praying for him because, again, he was the kid's father. I felt like they needed to know who their dad was, and bottom line, he needed the Lord. He needed the prayer.
In 2009, Kevin would need those prayers even more. He was attacked and stabbed 17 times by the Brotherhood when he refused to kill a child molester. After slipping into a coma, he encountered a power that brought him to his knees.
I remember it being black. There was something in there, in that blackness, that meant me great harm. And I remember being terrified of it. And I remember, cowering down. But then off in a distance, I see this light. Whatever's in this darkness is afraid of the light. And as the light gets closer and closer, I can see that it's Angie. She picks my head up. She starts, stroking my hair and telling me that everything's going to be okay.
Kevin came out of the coma, but the vision continued to haunt him. It wasn't until he received a letter from Angie that it all made sense.
She had been praying. She said, I'm talking about down on my face, fervently praying for you. Then a light clicked, She prayed, and it happened. Here's God showing up. my lowest point, God shows up.
It was then Kevin began to understand that love he felt when he was an 18-year-old sitting in a jail cell.
Love was just a word to me. It wasn't an action, it wasn't a feeling, it was just a word. And it wasn't until I really wrapped my head around what Jesus did on the cross, what love meant, what love was all about. And that was a pivotal point in my life. I remember there being a softening in me.
When Angie came for a visit, she saw the change in him immediately.
He was loving and sweet and kind, and he kept saying, I'm sorry, and I never meant for things to happen like this. It's just, how can someone change that drastically?
Because of his physical health and change of character, Kevin was released to home confinement with his mother in 2011. Soon after, he and Angie remarried. Then in December 2012, he received early parole and returned home. Now the man with a heart for God will share his heart with anyone who will listen.
I really, really love that he can minister to other people through his experiences, and that he's soft now. He didn't used to be soft like that, His exterior and his interior have both softened. There's no other explanation for this than it's God.
God has taken me, this guy that caused horrible things to happen to people, he's using it for the good.